This is good news. The missing Pamela Chisupa has finally been found. She was rescued along with 12 other girls who were locked up in a house in Lusaka, Zambia. For those who may not remember Pamela, we talked about her earlier this year in April of 2022. She was a money vendor girl who went missing in April of 2022 after a supposed customer called her to his house to withdraw money from her. And that was how Pamela went with a stranger to their home to, dispense money, only for her not to be heard from again. A few days after she went missing, a video of her filmed by her abductors being beaten, bruised, and assaulted began to circulate, which made a lot of people know that she had been kidnapped and their abductors were demanding a ransom. Even after her family paid the ransom, we still never heard from her. That happened in April of 2022. 7 months after then, we never heard from her. There were rumors that she had been killed, but the police did not confirm the rumor, so we didn't report on that because the Zambia police never confirmed that she had been dead. However, news were circulating around her being dead. It turned out though that the police never stopped looking for her. They were still trying their best to get information that would be important in finding Pamela. But in a shocking twist of events, on the 3rd of October 2022, residents around the neighborhood in Lusaka claimed they heard a girl screaming. They heard a group of girls screaming for help in a house around the residential area. It's just a neighborhood there. It looked like a house people were living in. However, upon going there to check on it closely, they realized that there were a group of girls who may have been locked up or who were held captive in a house. And that was how the neighbors swung into action, rescuing the girls, bringing them out and calling the police. There were about 13 girls. And at this point, no one actually knew that Pamela was among them. This was just a neighborhood who heard a group of girls screaming for help and they rescued all the girls, only to realize that one of the girls there was Pamela Chisupa, who had gone missing and whose story was all over the news earlier this year in April. The police soon arrived and the girls were eventually officially rescued because the police took charge, asking them questions and, trying to get information from them before taking them to the hospital. The house where the girls were kept was soon broken into and the police began realizing that this house may have been more than just a captive house. When the police got into the house, they saw a coffin, a casket that had a box filled with a sanitary pad that may have been used by the girls or not, which is making a lot of people suspect that this might be a case of rituals. However, some of these girls had been there, just like Chisupa, had been there for over 7 months. It's unclear why they have been keeping her or what they were doing to them. Neighbors also recounted that the guys who lived in the areas used to come to buy condom and sanitary pad, but they just didn't suspect so much because they assumed maybe they had girlfriends in their house.
Normal people, they just used to come and buy pads and condoms at that shop there. So we used to get surprised that how come boys are coming to buy such things all the time? Can't they are the ones who are what's
When the girls were in captivity in the home, it's not like they were chained. They were mostly locked in the house, in the rooms. And the guys who were there most likely assaulted them, took turns on them, abused them, and probably kept extorting money from their parents, from their family. Because these girls kept communicating with their families one by one, hoping, they will send money. And whenever they send the money, they don't release the girls. A particular girl had been there for 3 weeks, which meant that these girls were picked and abducted at different times. Luck shined on them when one of the guys who was supposed to be on the lookout, who was supposed to be on duty looking out at the captive, forgot to lock the doors. That was when 2 of the girls, including Pamela, came out of the building, came out of the compound and shouted for help over the fence, screaming and getting the neighbors to come rescue them. Pamela, along with the other girls, were able to reunite with their family, and it's just sent a wave of chills of happiness and hopefulness. And it seemed like a prayer had been answered because no one knew where these girls were and if they were alive or if they were dead. So as shocking as this is, it's still good news to those who feared the worst. Unfortunately, still, only one of the captors was arrested by the police. Hopefully with that, he will be able to, figure out where the other captors were. Although speculations are going that a pastor, a notable minister, might be behind this girl's kidnapping. A man by the name of Apostle Thomas is now under fire and being accused of being behind the kidnapping of the 13 girls, including Pamela at Lusaka. People began observing the photos that he took on his social media and realized that it's the same house that this man is taking his pictures that the girls were found, and he is a brother to one of the suspected kidnappers. And yet, he's a man of God. This won't be the first time we're seeing men of God doing the most. I wonder what his excuse would be. Is he going to claim that he did not know the girls were there when he was taking pictures in that building? Although still, he might have an excuse because, you see, a lot of neighbors have pointed out that the house where the girls were found, the boys who lived there had only been there for a month. And that is quite tricky though, because we don't know when this pastor took the pictures in that house. And the neighbors who live in the neighborhood in that area claim that those boys recently just moved in there, not up to a month. And it's tricky because Pamela had been missing for 7 months. So if Pamela had not been there for 7 months, where had she been? People believe that they have been moving these girls from place to place, and apparently within the last 1 month, they moved them here to another location. But then again, how do you transport 13 girls without anybody suspecting anything? How can you keep trafficking these girls and people don't see it? How are they able to do it? Could this be some kind of witchcraft? Because I mean, let's face it, there is a coffin in their house. They have like a weird fetish, spiritual juju. So could that be one of the ways they kept these girls captive? Could it be? The point is whether or not Apostle Thomas knows about the missing girls might still be a thing of question, but many people believe that he knew. Even though there's a 1 month period that he may have probably taken those pictures before the girls came there, he is a brother to the kidnappers, which is enough reason to believe that he definitely knew what's up with those girls, and there's a chance that he spearheaded it. There's a chance that he is the one, in charge of it. There were also words that a guy too was kidnapped among the girls, but the guy was killed. That part of the story has not been expatiated on, so we don't know so much about that part, but an eyewitness speculated as such. It's still a glorious news. It's still one of the best news to come out of this year, honestly. If anything, there were times I kept thinking about this girl. There were times people kept messaging me about what's up with her, and it was painful to not have an answer. It was painful to not know where she was, and it's just good to see that she is alive and she is back home with her family. Only God knows the trauma, the hell she went through. It would be nice to hear her story in captivity. It would be nice for these girls to speak out as to what they experienced. Pamela especially, she might be the one who may have been there the longest, and it would be nice to hear how she survived, how she was able to stay strong, because only God knows what she went through there. Only God knows. And only God knows if she would ever be able to come out of the trauma, because this is not something you can just recover. You can't just be abducted for 7 months, come back into reality and still remain the same person. It will be difficult. The nightmares, the horror that she would have to deal with, the amount of therapy she would need, and God help her, she's in good health. You just can't imagine what those horrible boys may have done to her. The story of Pamela is a story of hope, and I guess there might be updates to this story because the police are still looking for some of the boys who may have been involved in her kidnapping. The names and pictures of some of the suspects have been released. They are on the run, and with time they will be held accountable, captured, and hopefully explain what they did to these girls. I want to say a special thank you to all our Zambian viewers, to those who reached out and sent messages. I got a lot of messages regarding this, over 100, and it was pleasant to see how we care for this story, and it's just nice. It's a good thing. It's a very hopeful thing, and I guess I'm very happy telling this story because I feel relieved, honestly. I know she's not family and I don't know her personally, but it's a whole relief because we know that most times when we hear stories like this, it usually doesn't end well, but this is a miracle. So thank you guys for watching. If there is any update regarding this story, I'll be happy to update you guys. Please stay following this page, like, share, comment your thoughts, stay subscribed to our YouTube channel, and turn on your notification button. Should there be any updates, you'll be the first to get notified.